Hello, and welcome to the Soulful Valley Podcast, Helen.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. And hi, viewers. Thank you for listening in.
It's great to have you, Helen. We've wanted to get together for a long time. I think you've been around me way before COVID.
Yeah, I know. It's been like years, hasn't it? But we've never sort of had that coming together. And now, after all this time, it's so good to be here with you, sitting down and exchanging ideas and having a fun conversation. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we've been on a similar journey as well, a similar path. Because
Yeah.
of the kinds of places we've shown up and landed together. And then I felt like we've really supported each other's content on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
And I felt like we've been on the same wavelength. So
Yeah.
I really, really wanted to speak to you in this conversation in our new series about the energy of money.
Mm-hmm.
So before we begin, Helen, would you like to just introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So I am Helen Adams, and I am growing a global movement which is called the Female Business Revolution. And the Female Business Revolution is all about getting women just like you who are listening to smash those money blocks, really examine where these money blocks are coming from and be able to clear them fast and easily so that you actually step into your financial sovereignty and live the life, the first class life that is your truth, the life that you desire, which is ultimately your truth, so that you're going out there with ease and flow. You're making the money that you want to make. You're making the impact that you want to make. And at the same time, you are enjoying that first class life. That's your birthright. So way, way back, because as you can see, I've been around the clock quite a bit.
As I have too.
Yeah, but do you know what? We've got all the wisdom and everything.
We have now.
And the battle scars as well.
Yeah.
So way, way back, my first experience when I was 6 years old, I was growing up in a home where I was an only child, and my mum was a teacher and my dad was a headmaster. And I basically had when it came to things like freedom and blazing your own trail, I had no chance. So they were like, you've got to do the 9 to 5 route. You've got to go through, all the steps, all the logical steps that everybody else around you is doing. You can't do something on your own or be something on your own. And I felt that from a young age. I could never be what I wanted to be. I had that sense of that. But at the same time, I have this knowing deep down inside that one day I would leave all that behind me and I'd go out there and I'd blaze my own trail. And I also always remember when I was 6 years old, I used to fall asleep at night and I'd have this dream where I'd be walking onto a stage. I didn't know if I was talking or singing or what I was doing, but I was walking onto a stage and I could hear all this applause and cheering. And I thought, yeah, that's amazing. That's me. So when I was 13 years old, I went and said to mum and dad, I really want to go to stage school. I don't want to go to this school anymore. Would you let me go? It's what I really, really want. And they sort of looked at me like I had two heads.
Yeah.
Oh, no, darling, you can't do that. Acting's not a secure career. You've got to do your studies, go to uni, get a 9 to 5 job, and that's you sorted for life. And I'm sure how many of your listeners out there had that said to them at some point. There's so many, isn't there? So
now I see why you're here, because I don't know if you know my story way back to childhood, but as a I used to be an actress. So as a 5-year-old, I'd already made the decision because my dad had lost his job. He was sick. So we were very poor. There was a lot of trouble going on in our household. Mm-hmm. But I'd already decided as a 5-year-old, I was going to be a Hollywood actress, a Hollywood superstar, a musical actress. And I started performing to children in the playground at the age of 5, gathering crowds. So by the time I was 14, I was on television. I was starring in a radio play. I was doing all the things. But by the time I got to 18, I was given I was told, you need to go and get a real job. You've got to pay board and lodgings, acting is, we haven't got the money. And it did come to the point where we didn't have the money for me to go auditioning all over the country anymore. So I had to choose the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met who I would go on to marry, the first husband, and I have my 3 children. So in a sense, I have zero regrets for the way it did go because of, the family I now have in my life.
Yeah.
But it took decades for me to tap back into the true me, the true version of me.
Yeah, snap. I can see so many parallels there as well. Yeah, because I went off to uni. I married my son's dad. I had my son, and yet my son is the most precious thing in my life. And yet, just like you, the way that it turned out, the journey that I had to go on, I would never change that.
Yeah.
But like you, it was only up almost until my 50s that I really got this sense of, my truth, what I'm meant to be doing, and not following all these society rules and brainwashing that we've had to overcome over so many years, particularly as women.
Absolutely, as women. Yeah. My journey, was basically revolving around the men in my life. So the first husband, he was a soldier.
Yeah.
So I ended up traveling, and I just had to go with whatever was handed to me at the time, because we didn't have a lot of choices back then anyway, did we? We didn't have the online options that people have today.
No.
So who was Helen in her 20s then?
So Helen in her 20s, she got married. Yeah. So what I tried to do, I was sort of rebellious, but in a funny way. So I jumped out of something and into something, but it was all good experience. So when I was 20 years old, I met my son's dad, and my whole family hated him. Right. Because he was from a different culture, and they thought, oh, you're going to be all this rubbish. So I said, no, I'm going to marry this guy. And they didn't want me to do it, but I went ahead and did it. So we were sort of getting together, and he came over here, and I was getting used to his ways, but we were sort of morphing together. He was getting used to my ways as well. So it wasn't all one-way traffic. It was difficult at the beginning, but then it sort of opened up. But then when I had my son, I was over the moon, but I had this really bad depression. I was crying all day. I didn't want to do anything. I was hardly getting through a day. So we went away for a few weeks, and then when I came back, he started cheating on me. And this Julian was only 8 months old at the time when that happened. And it was a big shock for me. But even I was really proud of myself, because even then I could have overlooked it. But I said, no, trust is a big thing for me. If I can't trust him now, I'm never going to trust him. So we ended up breaking up. So by the time I was 28, then there was just me and my son. And I used to sit there and I used to look at him and I used to say, do you know what, son? There's just me and you now. We're going to do something really special. So I ended up going to my second love, which was teaching. So I taught then for quite a few years after that, music and French. And I always remember the very, very best job that I had was the last teaching job. And it was one teacher for all the school as a music teacher. So I'd have each group of children, and then I'd have the private ones who would come into me for extra lessons. And when I got to the school, there was no school orchestra. So I thought, right, I'm going to make one. So I had, in the first year, there were 2 violins, 2 recorders, a drum and a tambourine. And then by the final year, when I left there, which was 3 years later, we had 10 violins, 3 flutes, 3 clarinets, a drum, a xylophone, a cello, and a triangle. And we put them into the school competition, and they won the silver medal on their first go. And that was one of my little... So when people talk about what were your best achievements, I always have that orchestra up there as one of the top 3. And it was absolutely lovely working with them, because, kids like to talk on a break time, go out and have fun with their friends. on a Friday break time, there'd be a queue at the music room. They'd all be waiting with their instruments. And I really loved teaching those. There was such a good energy off them. And I really loved teaching them. And I remember on that competition, the judge wrote on the notes, every child on this stage looked like they were enjoying themselves. And that was a big thing for me.
And there's a reason that I'm beaming across my face listening to you, because it was the music teachers and the drama teachers that opened up doors to this, a reality for me that I could perform. I used to play the flute, and I used to sing in the choir, and then I was in all the shows. And there was one particular music teacher who really helped me when I was in the sixth form. Mm-hmm. Teachers wouldn't even be allowed to do this now.
No.
But I used to babysit for her some weekends. And when I wasn't babysitting for her, she would say I was babysitting for her just so I could stay there and get me out of the house, because she knew that, I never told her what was going on, but she knew. She had an intuitive, she felt it. And she was very, very special to me. And so when you're talking about how much you loved music, and I doubt that you realise the true impact that you probably made on those children for the rest of their lives.
It's really funny though, because one of them, who was one of my violinists, she still follows me on Facebook, and now she's a local singer in her local area, and she does music therapy with children. So
wonderful.
That is proof that you don't have to lose your dream.
No,
she did it. She carried on and she did it.
And I'm still connected to my drama teachers. Sadly, my music teachers have passed away now, but I say that, but there's plenty of people I call on in spirit to support me.
Yeah.
I have this wonderful spirit team, and I've got such fond memories of those people. Now, Helen, I invited you on today because I wanted to talk about the energy of money. And your mission is to change the way females, to change their perception around money and how they can create it. So I've got a few questions that I'd like to ask you. Now, I know this podcast, I don't normally ask, thought out questions, but for this topic, I thought it was important to go really deep.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's wonderful that it's turned out that you're my first guest on the series, because I've had to change what I was doing last week. So I see that as, synchronicity.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that topic later.
Yes.
So the first thing I'd like to ask you is, what inspired you to combine spirituality and entrepreneurship in your work?
So, Katie, it was this realization, this sort of awakening that I got sort of near the end of my 40s, when, as we touched on it a bit ago, I was coming out of that, societal conditioning way of being on that hamster wheel, to start getting these insights into who I really was and what I was here to do. So, when you start opening up to your intuition, even if it's unconsciously, you start getting these little whispers, don't you? These little thoughts, and you think, oh, you're here to do this. And then sometimes people just brush it off, but then it comes again, oh, you're here to do such a thing. Or you might be in this situation where it's conducive to the path that you're going to take, and at the time you don't realize it. And but you just have an instinct, you know that you need to be there doing that particular thing. And sometimes you do things and they don't even make any sense, but it's just this sort of knowing that keeps you going. And when that happens once, and then when it happens a few times, you start to think, right, well, this is the way things should be, instead of being conditioned and listening to what other people are doing. It makes more sense to do it this way. And the thing that helps you as well, the thing that really helped me, is sensing the energy in my body, feeling the energy in my body. Because when you feel the energy in your body and it feels flowing, and you get that glow, that nice tingle throughout your body, that shows it's your truth. And if there are people listening out there, I want you to know this. when you're telling that, I'll show you how the two things correlate with each other. When you're telling the truth about something, whatever that is, there's no conflict in your body. There's no twinges. There's no funny energy. It's just a constant flow all the way through. And you feel strong in the fact that you were saying something that you believe to be true. When you get these feelings, it's exactly the same feeling as you get when you are telling the truth. So by that process, you then know that when you've got these feelings about something that you're doing or saying or being, you know that that's true. You use your body to measure the truth in that. And when you get used to doing that, when you start doing it consciously, because a lot of people don't do it, it's something new for them, they just discard it. Like there's so many thoughts coming in every day. Oh, my body said this, oh, forget it, I'll just carry on. But no, your body is there to help you. Your body's your best friend. And if you listen to the signals it makes and you act on them, you can get to where you want to go much further. And it also is a big energy release because you're not thinking all the time what you need to be doing next. You're just feeling and following what your body says. And following on from that, when you're doing that a certain amount of times, and you get these big light bulb moments and you're strong enough to act on them, you're courageous enough to act on them, and you do them and they succeed, you look back and you realize that you've made a much bigger leap forward doing it that way than if you just ignored it and carried on going through the motions.
And usually the result is not anything that you would have reached logically.
Yeah, exactly. But when you think about it, you think, hey, this is so much better than what I'd envisioned.
Yeah, because you made it in your mind seem like a really difficult task. But when you're tapping into your intuition, it's not difficult, is it? It's just like the path seems to lay out in front of you when you recognize it. So once you build up this intuitive muscle, it becomes you can recognize it. Usually because a bunch of synchronicities come along. That's my experience of it. So let's talk about synchronicities, because you hear people mention it in the spiritual communities. And sometimes it's like, oh, they get a little bit, oh, that's a synchronicity, but I think they're missing the bigger picture. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, sure. So so you could be walking down the street and say you saw a car number plate and it had 888 on it or whatever it was. Oh, that's good. That's a synchronicity. But then you forget about it and then something else comes along. And the problem is people don't piece those things together. They might see one and they might think, wow, and that's great. It's something to be great. Every time you see one, it's something to be grateful for. But the missing part is they have to piece all those synchronicities together and sit down and say to themselves, why am I seeing these things? What's the message? What's the bigger message? And I think added to that as well, when you see your synchronicities, you have to then ask yourself the right questions to get that jigsaw joined together instead of just wandering about in the mire, as it were.
Helen, I know I'm dropping this on you now, but can you give us a couple of examples of questions they might ask?
So for example, you could say, how is this helping me get to where I want to go faster and easier? Or it might be something saying, what's the next action step that I need to do now? You have to put in those words like now, words like soon, words like things that, don't push it away, if that makes sense, in real time as much as you can. So what things can I do now to help me? What's the next step I can take now? What is this trying to show me now? So that, you're having the best possible experience. And people, when they ask questions, a lot of the time, the questions are too woolly. And if you're doing this exercise and you're finding yourself asking woolly questions or not getting proper answers, I would say just keep digging. Just dig and dig and dig and dig till you get to the bottom of it. Don't move your bum off the chair until you've dug. Go for it 100%. If you don't do things by halves, you get better results faster.
And I love the way you kept bringing the word now in there, because what I've noticed, I was a mindfulness teacher before all of this online stuff. In fact, the reason I was online was because I was bringing my courses online. And one thing I've noticed about most successful coaches out there is, I don't even know if they know that they're doing this, but they're all using mindfulness. Yeah. Everything is about being present.
Yeah.
The actions that you can take in the present. So not next Monday, next month, next year. And I used this when I made a firm decision that I was going to sell my house. And I shocked everyone around me because I've been there for 21 years. So even the estate agent came in to give me a valuation. And I said, okay, let's do it. And he said, oh, I'll give you time to think about it. I said, no. Let's do it.
Brilliant.
I'm choosing to do this now.
Yes.
And then the house that we were looking at, well, we'd already been rejected for a house to rent that we really wanted. And I spotted the house that I'm about to be eventually, when I sell my house, living in properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so this house had already come up during the time of the one we'd just been rejected for. My partner was a bit upset about not getting that one, and it disappeared. I thought someone had taken it, it had gone. Yeah. But as soon as I decided, no, I'm putting my house up for sale now, and started to proceed, I started to pack up boxes straight away. Yeah. This house came back up. And it was at a time when we both were ready. It was everything that I'd asked for in all of my things where I've written down what I want. Everything that I need as well, because I'm disabled, so there's needs that I have that weren't there in my house that I own. And that just proves that when you're really, really brave and courageous, and it may be scary. Yeah. It may be scary in a time where everyone's telling me that property isn't selling. But to make that decision, the universe responded to that firm decision and put back on my path what was meant for me. And I knew it was meant for me because of the synchronicity I discovered after we'd been offered the house. The synchronicity was that the road name was named after a Northamptonshire poet. I've just released a poetry book, living in Northamptonshire. So there's a big synchronicity for me. So that was a firm, this is the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. You can't make that. When you look at that, you can't make that stuff up, can you?
And so if people in real life situations have got these kind of things, for instance, dating, online dating, that wasn't for me. And I decided it was too distracting. And then there was this day that I was talking to my son, and out of nowhere, I said, maybe I need an Alan in my life. And then that same night, I had this urge, this feeling, this intuitive thing, and I couldn't sleep. And it was, go and put your profile on Facebook dating. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. It's not for me. Do it. And the next morning, we matched. And then the synchronicities that showed up were ridiculous. So his eldest son is the same name as my eldest son. His only daughter has the same name as my daughter, only daughter. His son lives in the street my son lived in when he first moved out. He moved away from the area when I moved there. There's just too many. So it is like, to me, this is the universe. This is my path, and it's proven to be the case. But I think people miss these things
They do.
In their, not just business, but life situations as well.
Yeah. And that word now, it's so powerful.
Because you're putting out there that you're making that decision now. It's like it's like you're showing your authority over the situation as well. Your
commitment.
Yeah, commitment to it. Not all this dilly-dallying dithering.
No.
Because I have been like that in the past. No. You know, I've completely ignored my intuition and paid for it.
Yeah, me too.
So it is such an important topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Are there any synchronicities that are big that you can remember in your life that you want to share with that, or that you're able to share?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think now. So on a smaller level, I get a lot of synchronicities because I'm a musical person like you. I get a lot of messages through lines of songs and things. So I remember one time, just a simple example, I wanted to go on this mastermind course, and I was thinking, have I got enough money to do it? And then I got this Elvis song in my, it's now or never. Yeah, so that was one of them. And then, when I was leaving that house, because I didn't really want to leave there, but I kept getting these sort of inner, conflicts going on. And I asked myself this question, what's going to happen with the house? And what's that song by the Kooks? She moves in her own way. And there's a line on there, moving on to better things, it says. And I'm like, oh. And that was a time I tried to ignore it, and then the house got repossessed. So if I'd have listened to that, if I'd have gone with the synchronicity, even something as simple as that, if I'd have gone with that synchronicity, things would have been a lot easier at that point in my life. But yeah, I get a lot of it through music. I get a lot of it through looking at things, and then things happening even on a day-to-day basis. I can sort of talk about something, and then somebody can be in my inbox talking about it. So it doesn't even have to be massive. Even if you follow those small things and have faith in them, then bigger things come along and grow.
Thank you, Helen. I just wanted to get that one in there with you, because I know a lot of the things that I've noticed, a lot of the things that you share are about intuition and synchronicity. And I think it's the biggest piece on this journey is to be able to tune into your intuition more and more, and choose that over the opinions of other people around you and your past programming when it comes in and taps you on the shoulder.
Yeah, definitely.
Another question I'd like to ask you is, can you share any personal experiences or insights on how the energy of money has impacted your own business or financial mindset?
Okay, well, I've had a love-hate relation. Well, not hate anymore, but over those 4 decades, I had this sort of love-hate relationship with money. So to start off, I was, mum and dad, teacher and headmaster, but they were brought up with very traditional views on money. So it was all about, you earn money, and money comes by earning it. Money comes by working for someone. Money doesn't come by making business, because you lose money doing that. You have to work for someone to be safe and secure. And I always remember one time, I think I was about 13 or 14, my mother said to me, never put money in a business, because what you'll do is you'll end up losing it, and people will talk about you and make fun of you. Yeah. So that was the sort of brainwash, not being nasty to mum and dad, because
that's the way society was, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way society was. So I always had that in the back of my mind. So when I first sort of ventured into coaching, which was after my teaching job, I was on a high, and I signed up for people all at once, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And the mistake that I made, I didn't know it then, the mistake that I made was to think, this is too good to be true. this isn't going to last. You're going to lose all your money. So guess what happened? When those 4 were coming to an end, I thought, oh, I need to get some more now. And then it wasn't happening, because when you're in that desperate energy, everything fizzles away, doesn't it? And I thought, oh no. And then of course you go back. Mummy says, don't do a business. And you even get to a stage, I even got to a stage where I thought, well, this is like a punishment for me, because I didn't listen to my mum. I didn't listen to the voice of reason. I didn't get a job.
And then you start berating yourself.
Yeah.
That cycle.
Yeah, over and over. And the thing was, I was going back and forth into jobs because I was thinking, oh, well, maybe this is right. But something always kept pulling me out of there. Something, told me that was wrong. So like things would go wrong in the jobs, or it wouldn't feel right. And I left and all this and that, because I knew deep down. But my big problem was having that bridge between, going out there and proving it. And I think there's a lot of people out there who want to do their business. They can see this big grand vision, but the thing that knocks them sometimes, the things that knocks them down is they don't have the faith in the in-between part. When they've said, right, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to do something else, they let the fear take over before they get to that final stage, and that stops them. So if there's someone listening now to this and they've got that fear, don't, because your fear is not the truth. Just keep going back and listening to those body signals. Just keep having those quiet times and really tune into your intuition, because that's the truth. Even if you're the only one who's believing it, and more so if you're the only one who's believing it, you've got to believe that doubly, triply.
I think as well how it's really important to surround yourself with other people on the same journey, because nobody around you in your real life, well, very rarely, I don't think I've ended up with a coach happening to live locally that came. She was a part of one of those intuitive steps for me along the journey onto this path, but I didn't know anybody else doing anything like this. So it's important to surround yourself with people doing what it is that you want to do as well, so that you're getting perspectives from all of those people and not from the people who haven't got a clue what you're even talking about.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's a conscious part that you have to make of things. Like, I think if there's too many negative people, think about everybody in your circle. And some people need to be turned from a 2-hour person into a 5-minute person if you can't get rid of them altogether, because your energy is also important. Or
to take yourself out of the type of conversations that they might be leading you into, or to change the energy of the conversation. I think it's helpful, isn't it?
Yes. Or like when they start moaning, you think, oh, is that the time? It's been so lovely to see you.
And anyone listening to us now, that's why we do that.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any practices or rituals that you do, that you incorporate into your daily routine to align your energy with abundance and financial prosperity?
Okay, so the very, very first thing is, the morning is your crucial time. So you want to get your mind and your body full of positivity, full of intuition, before things start happening through the day and kicking in and ruining your energy. So first thing I do, every morning I will do 10-15 minutes of meditating and 10-15 minutes of journaling. And in my journaling, I will ask those powerful questions. So I'll ask things to like, what do I need to get rid of today to get to where I'm going on that journey? What do I need to replace it with? And a really important one is, how do I need to be? Because a lot of people forget that. They think it's all about do, and they forget about be. And be starts before do. Because when you're being, you get the intuitive light bulbs, the kicking in for the action that you have to take. And often it's far different action from what you'd be thinking of. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to go through the motion. Like we said about doing something completely illogically, but having that faith to trust in it. And those are the things that get you there much faster. Those are the things that can even cut down a big 10-year goal into a 5-year goal.
Even I've seen people even change that to from 10 years to 1 year, which is quite shocking. I've watched people do it.
Exactly. But you think, yeah.
So we've got a bit of a frog there. I'll cut this bit out. I just need a sip of water.
Oh yeah, I'll have one as well.
I've lost where we were there. Oh, yeah, the joys.
What was it? We were saying about cutting things down from 10 years into 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing that came to me then to mention is that when we talk about the being, we don't mean go and sit and lay on the couch every day and just expect it to drop in your lap because you're wishful thinking. It's not the same.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You do have to take actions, don't you?
Yeah. So to give an example, then, being for me is embodiment. So it's the rich female entrepreneur. So I'm constantly thinking to myself, what is she doing? How is she thinking? What she eat? Is she looking after her body? Is she taking care of herself? Is she making the right decisions in real time on a day-to-day basis? Before I jump into a decision, I think, right, what would me as the rich female entrepreneur do? And then I can alter my behavior in real time. So it's a constant thing. Think about your ideal self, who you want to be, and step it. It's almost like taking a role, because you were
involved in
the drama.
And that's
taking
I think that's
role.
why certain things have happened for me, because I've become what it is that I want to embody. And it's been quite easy in a way because I have been an actress, so I know how to step out of the Katie that could be laying on the couch feeling sorry for herself because of the pain that I do endure, because it's not as if all of that's gone away for me. So no. I'm not miraculously cured of my conditions, my physical conditions, but I've had to find a way to be who I want to be while still in this reality, which is another important thing, because I think a lot of people also think you've got 100% cure yourself to be the perfect pure channel for these things to come through as well, which can put people off. They can think that they're not ready, they're not good enough, they're not able enough.
Yeah, this is it. And you find a lot of women like that.
Yeah.
Because
so they'll give up.
They do, because they've given this thing about perfection. So in terms of women, it's not just we get all the bull that the guys get, like you can't make certain money. It's also got to be you're perfect. You've got to put yourself to the back of the queue. And when you do something, it's got to be spot on, because you have to please everyone else. And then if yourself happens, it's a bonus.
People pleasing.
Yeah.
The game changer. If you
definitely
remove that.
Yeah.
That helps massively.
Yeah.
Another question I've got for you that I wanted to ask in this series is, can you share any advice or tips for individuals who are looking to shift their relationship with money and integrate spirituality into their financial journey a bit more?
Yeah. Okay. So going right back to the beginning then, to the integrating the spirituality bit, that would be the first part of the equation. And I think if you're not doing that already, you need to make your quiet times a non-negotiable, so that you can hear the things that are coming through. You can hear what your intuition's telling you. You can think about those big juicy dreams. Maybe your dreams are limited, but all of a sudden, when you sit and you open yourself right up and you clear all that energy, some big light bulb could come. Your big dream could come. You could find out what your purpose is right there and then. in one of those quiet times. So if you're not doing that, have at least 10 minutes of quiet time per day. And then that's going to be your base. What you hear from there is going to be your base. And then looking at the money side of it, I would sit down right now, get a pen and paper, and think about, what do I think about money right now? I went on this course, it was years and years ago, with a lady called Marie Claire, and she was doing something similar, and she got us to hold up a note of money and ask it 3 questions. And the 3 questions were, the first one was, money, how do I feel about you? Money, how do I treat you? And money, what would you like to tell me now?
Juicy questions. I've got shivers.
Hey, say that again.
They were juicy questions. I just got shivers.
Yeah, but yeah, they are. They're such juicy questions, because they're the things, they get right to the heart of what's going on. It's no faff. You're not like writing down something for 6 hours. You're getting right there. You get into the question, and once again, you're making these big leaps forward. And, if a person sat there thinking, I'm no good with money, I would say to them, write down all the times that money has come to, say in the last week, write down all the times that money has come to you. Even if you found some coins on the street, that's still money coming to you. You're in that energy, you're opening up for more. Don't discard anything. Don't say, oh, well, it was only 50p, or, oh, I only found £1 there, or the bank corrected an error in my favour, it was like 5. But still, all those things add up. And gratitude comes in here such a lot as well, because when you're doing that, that gratitude is enhancing the flow of money that comes to you. So it's all on a cycle. So write down those things. Do it over the last week, all the money that you got, and you'd be surprised. And you'd look at that and you would feel grateful. And then that would open up your energy for more money.
That's wonderful advice. I know gratitude practice is my daily non-negotiable.
No.
Because it's so important, and recognizing the things that are not necessarily monetary. You might think, you're not even thinking about the money, but when people give you gifts, they have a monetary value that you may not even be appreciating.
Exactly.
Or any discounts that you get, just all those little things, they all add up, don't they? So appreciate everything.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's probably the biggest gift that to yourself.
Yeah,
to change this. And Helen, what are your hopes and visions for the future of spiritual entrepreneurship and the energy of money in the collective consciousness?
So my hopes would be that we redress the balance, so that we tip that balance over of people who are being non-intuitive with money to intuitive with money, so that we do properly get that ripple effect going right across the collective with money, that we get people being more creative with money, that we get people following their purposes and their passions, and knowing that that is the way to abundance. And even right back to the smaller level, that every woman or every person gets to know that, abundance is your birthright. All this talk about scarcity, lack, gets wiped out because it's not the truth. So for every person to see their truth about money and then go out there and start living it.
Thank you, Helen. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today that we haven't already talked about?
Well, the last thing I would say is if you've enjoyed my conversations, if you think I can help you, we've got 2 really good programs. The main one is the Rich in Your Own Right program, which is a beautiful 90-day transformation. And you start off at one place, you come out at another, but you have those tools that will get you the money over and over and over again. And you do embody that rich female. It's all about embodiment on that journey, getting rid of the things that aren't going to get you there and opening up to your intuition. So you're making these big leaps forward a lot faster. And for those who don't want to right now commit to 90 days, but are just sort of opening up to their intuition and wanting to see how it works, we've got a smaller version of that, which is our Income Igniters program. And people can come and book a discovery call with me if they want to know how to smash those blocks fast and spend more time living the way that they want to live, a life full of joy and abundance.
Wonderful. Where can people find you, Helen?
So all my links, Katie, they're all on Linktree. So it's linktr.ee/Helen Louise Adams. And you'll find everything that you want to know there. Just dive in, enjoy. And if I could help you, I would be honoured to.
And those links will all be in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you for today, Helen. Bye for now. I'll just press stop.